Hey everyone, this is Henry. Got another recap video today. This one, a bit of a big one from Adepticon 2022. Trying to get this out as early as possible. I just got home today from the event. I was lucky enough to be able to attend, and I wanted to do a similar thing to that LVO recap we did, where we go over my games and the top lists that were at the tournament and kind of how the tournament went out overall. Obviously, no recap of a major tournament recently would be complete without thanking Karnak or Derek. Derek, thank you so much for TOing. Thank you so much for running these, for getting the prize support, for everything you've done for the community. This was a really, really well-run event. It was very smooth. I couldn't think of a better experience. And to all the people that I met, especially those who came up and, let me know that they watched the YouTube or they've been trying the list and stuff like that. Thank you guys so much for the support. I really appreciate it, and thank you for clicking on this video. For those of you that were at Adepticon who I didn't get to meet, I hope you had a great time. I hope you did well, had fun, and I look forward to meeting you in the future. But let's not dilly-dally here, because this is probably going to be a bit of a longer video. Let's hop right in. So the main tournament was on Friday. 52 players with a top 8 cut, top 4 getting Worlds invites after day 2. So day 1, let's start with my list. As you can see who I was up against, Mac. This should look familiar to everybody. This is the most up-to-date version of my list. I've practiced this one. This is the exact same as the one-day Swiss. I will probably do a detailed video about this list in the future here, but this is what it is. Everyone should know from watching the videos, this is what I've been running for a while now. I really, really wanted that Worlds invite, and so I thought that this gave me the best chance because this is the fleet I'm most practiced with. This is the one I've had the most success with recently, and this is the one that I thought gave me the best chance of doing well. So with all that optimism, with all those good feelings, that confidence and stuff, round 1 I ran into a brick wall against Mac. Going into round 1, looking at everyone's list, as you do at the start of any Armada tournament, saying hi to friends, looking around at all the lists and stuff, and someone mentions, oh hey, Mac, this amazing Canadian player that we've all either played against or heard a lot about. He's running something similar to your fleet, but he's got Gallant Haven, he's got more bombers and stuff like that. And I was thinking, oh boy, well I hope I don't play that guy, especially round 1. And pairings come out, and I'm against Mac round 1. Going through his list here, he's got the Assault Frigate Mark II-A, which I love seeing more of these. It seems like at Adepticon, and we'll get to that later, but we finally got some representation. We got some other people running the Assault Frigate Mark II-A. It's not just me anymore. I don't know if these were in other metas and I just hadn't played against them, but this was the first tournament I've been to recently where I have seen someone else playing an Assault Frigate Mark II-A. So Mac and I were joking the whole weekend about proving people wrong and showing the power of this beautiful ship. But he's got Kirsta, Ruthless, RBDs linked just like me. And he goes Gallant Haven instead of Paragon and Durland instead of Walix. So his is a bit tankier and hits a bit less hard than mine. He's got a Neb B Escort with Yavaris, super skinny. And then 2 beefy GR75s here. He's got the expensive one with ADAR, Bomber Command Center, and boosted comms. And the second one with Tauren, CommsNet, Bright Hope. I should say this now, as I go through each of these lists, I'm doing all these from memory. As of yet, Derek hasn't posted the full lists. He's been busy running the tournament. I don't fault him for that. So at some point, the full list for all the players will be online. I'm sure there's going to be discussion once those go up. But I'm doing all these from memory, and so if I screw anything up, if you guys are watching, it's your list, please let me know. I apologize. I think I have most things correct, but if I've got anything wrong, just let me know. But I think this is how he had the 2 GR75 set up, where this one can stay at 5, basically, and this one gets closer to 3. And then he's got a squad ball of Dutch, Wedge, Lando, Hera, 2 Skurgs, and a VCX. So he's got 7 squads, just like me, but he has Dutch and Wedge, which proved to be a difficult combo for me to deal with. I ended up taking second in this game. He picked my Fighter Ambush, no surprise there. And we kind of just had a rock fight, honestly. What the game boiled down to in the end was he got his Assault Frigate close enough to where his squads can engage my squads while still being in range of Gallant Haven, and he was also able to leverage Adar Talon. And so he really just won the squad war. It ended up being a 6-5 win to him. You know, it was neither of us particularly wanted this matchup because we kind of knew what would happen. But Gallant Haven reduced a ton of my damage that I was putting in, and then Adar being able to pseudo double tap things, particularly Dutch and Wedge, made for a problem. It was going okay for me for a little while, but then he just kind of overwhelmed me, and I didn't lose either of my ships, but I couldn't really threaten either of his. He took an extra brace here, and I took a salvo, wondering if he was going to attack my squads. But as it happened, it just was a squad war in the middle, and he won 6-5. And so that put me in a bit of an early hole, which I was not thrilled about. It was an unfortunate matchup, but 5 points, you're still not out of it. 4-round tournament. So round 2, I played against Austin, and Austin was playing I don't think it was a copycat of Sam's list. Maybe it was. I don't know. He had mentioned that no one in his meta played it, and so maybe he got it from Sam. Maybe he didn't. But it's the Onager Double Interdictor. A few key changes, though. Obviously, as you can see up here, he went for the Lifeboat Raider instead of the Gazanti. Slimmed down the Onager a little bit. No Ordnance Experts and no Medical Team. And then here's the big thing. No Pedix on the Interdictors, which I see what he was going for with trying to get the Lifeboat Raider, get a fourth meaningful, ship out there, get him off the Onagers. The Onager's not worth that much. But man, drop something else. Don't drop the Pedix. The Pedix are what make these so annoying to deal with. Get rid of like one Projection Experts maybe, or the Proximity Mines. Don't drop the Pedix. Sam, I think, has recently said that Pedix are as close to a stapled-on upgrade as there is in this game. And I think that's especially so for this list. I think you have to have them. And so when I looked across the table and noticed that he didn't have Pedix on his Interdictors, I cracked a little bit of a smile, because I was able to beat Sam 8-3 at LVO with Pedix on these. And Sam is the best player in the world now, because he just won the World Cup. And so knowing that I won that game, seeing no Pedix here, I knew I was in for a treat. And I had the bid. So I said, heck yeah, I'm taking second. And so Austin picked my Fighter Ambush, which I kind of see what he was going for. Superior Positions, I think, is a non-starter. It gives me deployment advantage and a very easy way to score points. And Most Wanted, I would assume that he didn't want me to score double points off the Onager, maybe, and get the extra dice. But I think Most Wanted probably would have been the correct choice. I don't think Fighter Ambush was the right choice. To cut to the chase, I won by 648 points. I think it was 670 to 22. He killed Hondo down here, but I tabled him. And I got 270 points from the objective. And so I think the right play would have been Most Wanted. I don't know that there's a world where he wins this game unless he rolls insane and my squads just totally whiff. I think this is just a case of a counter matchup, especially without Pedix. Because the Onager, unless my squads were horrible, should die every game. And it was actually helped by the fact that he picked Fighter Ambush, because I could deploy my squads to where they could attack the Onager turn 1 instead of turn 2. So I had 6 turns to burn stuff down. So I killed the Onager, I think, round 3 or 4. And then he brought the Raider too close to the Assault Frigate. And so I had it double arced. He didn't activate it first. I think he was activating the Onager first to get a shot on the Assault Frigate. And to his credit, the Assault Frigate was down to, I think, 3 or 4 hull and missing shields. by the time the game ended. So he did some decent damage to it, but I took double evade. I deployed it at 0 on the opposite side of the board from where his ships were, because of the grav wells, and then kept the rest of my stuff out of grav wells, so he didn't have a good turn 1 shot. And then, from there, killed this with rogues, and then killed this raider with the assault frigate, and then the squads, plus a decent double arc shot from the MC-30 brought down these two as well. I think it was last roll or second to last roll of the game from the squads killed the last interdictor. I didn't need it. I was still a 10-1 either way, and it gets rounded down to 400 MOV anyway. But I hate leaving things on 1 health, so it was nice to finish it off. So Austin was a good opponent. He said he's been tearing it up in Jacksonville with this list. No one saw it coming down there, and so I think obviously the archetype is good. I don't know that the changes he made it any better. I would say you have to have Pedix, and the Gazanti is helpful for tokens and stuff like that. But it was a good game, and it was great. It was great for my list to get a big win. I really needed that, and that put me up to 15 tournament points. So right back in the mix after the 5-6, sitting at 15. I think put me at table 6 for round 3, and round 3 was against Jack Otto. Or Jotto, I forget. I don't know how he says it, his username. But Jack, as the eagle-eyed viewers will remember, yeah, whatever. He was someone I played at LVO day 2. He was my first opponent of day 2 at LVO, and we were basically running the exact same lists with minor tweaks. So for those of you who don't remember, he had Obi-Wan on an armed cruiser, Ven 1 kitted for salvo tech and defensive stuff along with IF, which is important for his list. He bumped it up to 3 chargers with linked, and then a Pelta with projecting experts and munitions resupply. And then no squads. Importantly, no squads. This was another game, kind of like round 2 against Austin. That's basically just kind of a rock, paper, scissors, and I had the advantage in list building. There's not a ton he can do against my list, and we kind of both knew that. We played really fast. I think we were done like an hour and 15 minutes before the round ended, just because we have already played this matchup basically, and he rolled really terribly at LVO. I felt really bad. I think I mentioned in that video he just rolled garbage that game, and he rolled much better. I think he rolled about average this game. About what you'd expect, and I rolled about average, but it's just a difference in lists. This happens to be a list that my squads and my ships and stuff can do very well against, because I can kind of run and stay alive with my 2 capital ships, and then my squads have total and complete free reign to go after his stuff. So in the end, I killed, I believe, the ship with Obi-Wan on it, 2 chargers and a Pelta. I forget if I got the 3rd charger or not. He picked my most wanted though, so I slapped that on one of the chargers. So I think it was like a flagship, 2 chargers, including the most wanted ship, and a Pelta, and I lost nothing, which got me a 9-2. And that's the same score as an LVO. It's I felt bad because he had mentioned if there was one matchup he didn't want to play, it was against me. And I understand that just because lists are different, and it's unfortunate because Jack is a really, really great player, and I think this Obi-Wan list is definitely solid. If I can stay out of flak range, and these guys have one single black flak die, it wasn't that hard to stay out of flak range, and so I wasn't taking LTT shots. I was able to keep my stuff alive and just jump from consular to consular and pick them off one by one. There's really no world where I'm going to go after the Venator. Just because it's too tanky, and with Tranquility and Salvo Tech and stuff, it's not worth going after. But this was, fun game, fast game, which I appreciate. I appreciate fast games, not getting bogged down with like the minutia of squadron fights. So Jack, it was nice to see you again. For those of you who don't know, Jack does custom holographic ship cards, or maybe he does all cards. I don't know, but definitely ship cards. For Armada, and I picked myself up 4. I got my whole fleet blinged out, basically. I got custom holographic cards for all 4 of my ships, just because this is a fleet that I play a lot. They look fantastic. He does a really, really great job with them. And so if any of you are interested in getting your hands on some, give him a holler on Discord. It's, I believe, Jado Otts on Discord. You can find him in the main Armada Discord. He's on there, and he does really, really great work. So just check him out. Yeah, it's good stuff, and I really appreciate the cards that he did for me. Moving on to round 4. At this point, I was sitting at, if my math serves me, 24 points. And so that was good enough for table 2 for the final round. And I got matched up against Joseph. Again, as longtime viewers will know, I have played Joseph, I think, twice in the last month with the exact same lists, basically. He's changed this. This is the one he ran in the one-day Swiss, if you remember from our previous video. So this is the exact same matchup we just played like a week ago. We, at this point, we're both, I think he was at, we were both at 24 right now. And so we kind of just realized, you know, hey, we need to keep it close. Neither of us are going to take huge risks because we both wanted to make day 2. We were at table 2. We had a good chance to make day 2. And so both of us kind of understood that didn't want to really take any huge risks here because, you know, if we take a huge swing for the fences and end up missing and we lose like 9-2 or something, then we're out. And neither of us wanted that. But it ended up being a really good game, really close game. I'll go over the list briefly for anyone who hasn't watched the previous video. We've got Trench on a Star Frigate, tanky with highs and swivels, which is kind of cool. Sonalore and thermals make it quite tanky, and Engine Text gives it flexibility as to where it can go. Recusant here, very standard Pat's Fist with Vet Captain, so you can do Trench stuff if you need that token in a pinch. Hondo, obviously, and then 5 Hyenas, 5 Vultures. Our previous games, he won, I think, 7-4 or 8-3 in our first matchup. I think he won 7-4 in our first matchup, and then I won 8-3 in our second matchup. And so this one, he ended up winning 6-5. We kind of had a cagey start. We were both, you know, pretty hesitant, and then kind of jumped in the middle with I sent in the MC30, he sent in Pat's Fist. He picked Most Wanted. I made the hard sell Most Wanted because that was the ship I was most confident that I could kill with squads, that he wouldn't, you know, jump out of there super fast because he deployed it pretty slow. Ended up trading. He killed MC30 and I believe both my transports, and I killed the Most Wanted hard sell and killed all of his squads. He killed a few of mine. Ended up being a 6-5 with 18 MOV to him. And so he ended up with 30 and I ended up with 29. And we both made day 2, so that was nice. I think I, you know, consider Joseph a friend of mine now. We had a great time this weekend. You know, we got beers, we hung out, we talked a lot. It was great to hang out with you, Joseph. I appreciate the camaraderie there, and we had a fun game to end the day. And so, let me pop over. These were the rankings after day 1. Mac in first, you know, totally dominating the field with 34 tournament points and a 948 MOV with a 6.44 strength of schedule. That's crazy. He was absolutely dominant, and so he obviously had some big wins. After our game, he got the 6-5 here, and then just kind of went on a tear. Played at top table round 4, and I heard that was quite the show he put on. Second place, we had Lucas, who Lucas was running a Starhawk list with it was like kind of a bunker Starhawk with 2 transports and then a bunch of squads. I think it was max squads, 134 points, and he had a good day as well. Kind of impressively, 2 of us in the top 6 went 2-2 and got 30 and 29 points respectively, which, you know, that just shows you win big, lose small can absolutely get you in there at the top tables. Daniel was running Raidbot with all ship list. It was a Prov, a Rec, and I believe 3 hard cells, if I remember right. Again, these lists are going to come out whenever Derek can put them in, and so if I'm wrong about that, Daniel, please let me know. But I believe it was 5 ships with TF. Joseph, as you can see, undefeated. We were joking. He kind of walked down because he got a 9-8-7-6. And so, but he went undefeated. He was one of, I believe it was 5 players to go undefeated, if I remember right. You had Mac and then Joseph and then Justin right below him, just short on MOV, who also went 5-0, or excuse me, 4-0. Justin, we'll get to that. But Justin's list was Kraken, 4 CR90s, one of them being a B with highs, a transport with slicers, and then a bunch of squads, 8 squads. And then you have me, obviously, in 6th for top 8. And then Ryan below with a Rattus list. Rattus on an MC30, Rattusing in a Liberty, the blue dice Liberty, and then a transport and max squads. And then Jason running Akbar with an MC30 and then CR90 TRC Swarm. Some things to note here. No Imperials in the top 8. Not a single Imperial player in top 8, which I can't remember the last time Imperials haven't dominated the top of a tournament. It was 6 Rebels and 2 CIS, which is just crazy because Imperials have kind of been running the roost recently. They've rattled off tournament win after tournament win. I mean, the Vassal World Cup was 4 Imperial players in the top 4. LVO, you had Imperial player 1 and then a bunch of Imperials in the top 16. And so this was kind of a breath of fresh air for us Rebel players to come in and totally dominate a tournament like this. We'll get to the final standings after day 2 here in a little bit, but it was a great day for Rebels. And it gave me a lot of, happiness in the state of the game. It's nice to see that one faction isn't so overwhelmingly strong that it's pushing everything else out. Like, this game is still very balanced. Everyone's complaining about onagers and Sloan and blah blah blah, and those are still very strong, yes. But this tournament proved that. I mean, there were plenty of onager players here, plenty of great Imperial players. I mean, Paul was here. You had Nick Griffiths. You had I'm gonna mess up the name. Matt, I know, but I think it's Gilded. I always say Gilded Paleon. I know that's not how he says it. I forget exactly how he pronounces it, so I apologize there. But he still had a lot of great Imperial players here, and it was just a tournament for Rebels. I think people have finally figured out how to beat onagers and stuff, and actually build lists that can compete really well with them. And so I think we're getting back to some good balance, which was great to see here. But that's enough dilly-dallying. Let's jump back over to this, to day 2. And first game of day 2 was against Jason. So this is the Akbar Swarm I was talking about. It's Akbar. I think this is one of the lists that I was not 100% sure about. He said he had an 8-point bid. I think this is what he had built out here. He's got Akbar, Skilled First Officer, External Racks, TRCs, and then 5 TRC 90s and a naked GR 75. I believe that's what the list was, but Jason, I'm not 100% sure about this one. Please correct me if this is not exactly what it was. But I believe this is what he had. He went ahead and took second player, and I picked his Capture the VIP. And from there, it was very, how do I put it? A lot of fast ships running around my fleet as I went through the middle. I took an evade with Agate here and slow rolled the assault frigate kind of down the middle and then sped up in later turns. The game basically boiled down to, could I catch his CR90s? Because with the VIP, he took it turn 2, he picked it up with the GR75 and then ran along his edge of the board. And so I sent the MC30 at speed 4 to go catch it. And that took several turns to get over there and actually get it in arc. And he did a great job of always having a threat so that I didn't want to go first with the MC30, whether it was bringing up the scout frigate over to threaten Agate or have double arcs with these things at medium on Agate. He did. You can tell he really knows how to fly the list. He was at top table, I believe, 2 or maybe 3 games on day 1, so I'm sure a lot of you got to watch his games. He's a very, very skilled player, and he's very skilled at flying this. The game itself actually came down to 1 damage. I was able to kill a CR90. Was it 1 CR90? Yeah, I killed 1 CR90 and killed the GR75, and so no one picked up the token at that point. The VIP token just sat there. And then he got my assault frigate down to 1 health at the end of the game. And if I would have pulled a structural, it would have died on the final crit of the game. And we talked about it after the game. He could have maybe done a couple things differently to kill it. At that point, I lose. But I don't remember the exact MOV. I guess we'll see it here in a minute. But I won this game 7-4. Not a very big 7-4, but we take 7-4s where we can get them. And so I believe it was actually, I think I killed 2 CR90s and his transport and lost 1 of my transports, or maybe both of them. I don't remember exactly. Again, we'll check here in a minute. But yeah, very, very close game in a day of close games, as we'll get to here. So it was a great game, Jason. I really like your list. I gotta give a shout out to a good friend of ours back from Bloomington, James. He, for a long time, ran basically the same list, except he had a Pelta with IF instead of the MC30. But just, I played countless games against CR90, TRC, Akbar swarms, but I was a bit out of practice, and so it took me a little while to remember how to play against this list. But it was a fantastic game, and you were a great opponent, Jason. So that puts me at 7 points, which I believe was 5th place, if I remember right. Or, excuse me, no, 4th place. And I ended up playing against Justin. And for those of you who watched the LVO recap, you know that Justin ruined my day too with his Leia list, which was kind of similar to this. I flew my assault frigate off the board thanks to his slicer tools. It was one of my most disappointing games I've played in recent memory. And so I was out for revenge. And unfortunately, I did not succeed. Long story short, I lost this game 7-4. It mainly came down to just this squad difference and just kind of crappy rolls. I had rolled pretty well throughout the whole tournament to this point, and in our squad war here, I started off rolling hot. I was able to kill Shara, Ketsu, and I believe an A-Wing before he killed any of my squads. But because he brought in the A-Wings first, because he's smart, and I kind of had to chew through them, or because I couldn't just leave them there and let them start attacking me for free. I couldn't get my flak bubbles set up correctly, and so my squads were a bit more exposed. So they were kind of going after the A-Wings and stuff and taking damage and being in more exposed positions, and he was just able to jump in, Lando Tycho and the YTs, and just, roll my squads. He ended up wiping all my squads and killed both my transports. It was just a rough game. My rolls, my squad dice went cold about halfway through the game. I had rolled a few fistfuls of 0 damage, even with Tauren Farr, and then Tauren Farr died, and it got even worse. And he was able to keep his Tauren in range. He sliced and rammed to get rid of my GR75s. His CR90s, these 3, were basically never relevant. He tried to put some pressure on my assault frigate late in the game, but it didn't even get close to dying. But I almost killed this CR90B when it came in, but I just couldn't get things lined up right, and I couldn't get the exact dice I needed, and so it survived. So really just a rough game. His squads are a bit better than mine, purely like not considering flak or anything, because he's got 8, including 4 A-Wings. And I just couldn't get those flak bubbles set up correctly where I got my assault frigate. I created a decent bubble with these 2 guys, but I needed to get my assault frigate to a point where it was seriously threatening his squads to give my squads a chance to win. I just couldn't do that. So he walked away with a kind of an ugly game, but he got a 7-4, and so I think that put him at top table for going into round 3 with 14, and that dropped me down to 11 points. Going into the last round. So I definitely had to win, and I had to hope other games went my way to have a chance at top 4 and getting that Worlds invite. And that brings us to the final round against Ryan. Brian, I had played a couple years ago at a tournament in Louisville where I'm pretty sure he steamrolled me with a Kraken Rogues list. So it was nice to see you again, Ryan. I believe it's Iced Becker on the Discord. I'm sure many of you have had conversations and seen him around. He was running a Rattus list, a pretty interesting one, with an MC30, Hondo, Ordnance, ECMs, external racks, Foresight. So pretty standard. I love the inclusion of ECMs here, just so 2 accuracies don't ruin his day. And he's guaranteed to get his his drop off, or at least be able to use his defense tokens. He is dropping in an MC80 Star Cruiser with Lando, Katekin, and Sholin, engine techs, PDX, quad battery turrets, and XI7s, and then a naked GR75 with Tauren on it. I don't know why I said naked. A GR75 with Tauren, and then 129 points of squads. It's another squad ball that's very similar to mine. 3 YTs, Ketsu Shara are identical, and then he's got Tycho Han instead of Corrin Lando. Han, I was very happy to see on the board. You don't see a lot of Han Solo anymore. He's kind of heinously overpriced now that Lando exists in this game, but very cool, and he was relevant this game, so that was nice to see. I had bid. I took first player, which is not something I do super often, but with him only having 2 ships on the board to start the game, and me feeling like I had a very slight advantage in the squad war if I could get flak online, I thought that first player, I don't want to give the Rattus player first. I don't want to let him pull up his MC30 alongside me and then put down the MC80 so I can't escape, activate the MC30 first, and then blow whatever, if I live, blow whatever it was up with the MC80, his next activation. I didn't want to give him that opportunity. If there's one thing I know about Rattus, you almost never want to give Rattus first player if you can avoid it. So I took first. We played his fighter ambush, which was great for me to see there. As people have done to me many times with their heavy squad list picking my fighter ambush, I finally got to do it to someone. And so I had a massive deployment advantage. I got to do exactly what I wanted, put stuff exactly where I wanted to. But it almost didn't matter because he Rattused in at the start of round 3. I had gone down to speed 1 on the MC30 to one side, trying to play cagey, and he called my bluff, and he put down the MC80 at medium range with that big old front arc pointed right at my MiG-30. And so that was probably the longest I thought about anything that the whole tournament. I think I probably spent 5 or 6 minutes just deep in thought about what the heck I should do. I ended up stalling because I knew that I had a nav token on the MC30, but even with a nav dial and a nav token, I could not hop out of front arc of the MC80. So I stalled, and he activated the MC30 first and brought it up to where I definitely couldn't get to the inside of the MC80. He kind of blocked me there. In doing that, though, he gave me a decent target. And so I activated the MC30 next. I think I threw like 2 blue or whatever, not relevant. But I moved up my MC30 to where it double arced his MC30. And so all I needed to do was survive the shot and ram from the MC80, and then I could go first with my MC30 the next round. So he shot with the MC80. He rolled a pretty good, he had a good roll, but it took my MC30 down to 2 hull because he pulled a structural on the crit, and then he rammed and put me down to 1 hull on the MC30. So, and he had nothing else that could get me. I had my squads positioned around my MC30. I actually brought a couple of them up by activating a transport, and was able to do, take off a few shields from the MC30, which proved to be big. And then I was thus protecting my MC30 from any of his squads, namely Han, which I don't think Han would have killed me, but would have been very annoying. End of round stuff happens. We go with all the squads. I get some plink damage on the MC30, and he brings his squads in to time mine up. And start of next round, I had a nav lined up for round 4, and so then I set a Confire as my bottom dial, and then decided that gave me an opportunity with Skill First Officer to take it if I needed to, or reassess and see if I could jump the MC80. After a lot of deliberation, he went first with Han that turn. He did the Han thing, killed one of my things, and then jumped over to protect his MC30, which was good, and that was where Han became relevant because I had Hondoed as well to give the MC30 a squad token so that I could activate Lando or Ketsu, I forget which one, and attack the MC30 with them to hopefully strip a couple more shields. But he hopped Han over after killing one of my YTs and stopped me from doing that, so it was a very smart play on his part, and Han's ability was truly relevant there, which was nice to see. After a lot of deliberation, I decided that I was going to go down swinging, and I wasn't going to try to hop the MC80, and so I had a nav token still, and I just used my squad token. I attacked, I think, Han with somebody, and discarded my nav with Skilled First Officer to reveal a Confire, and I shot double arc into the MC30 and did just enough damage to kill it with my front and my side. He did all the defensive tech he could, but at the end of the day, I had enough damage after rerolls and everything was said and done to kill it, and I was happy to trade up at that point because his is 114, mine is 88. Simple math says that's a great deal for me. And then I went to speed 0 right in front of the MC80, kind of despite it, because if I would have moved at all, I would have rammed, and I was gonna make him deal with the MC30 one way or another. It was very dead, on one hull at that point, no shields in the front. So he ended up shooting it with the MC80 because he didn't want to ram it and get stuck there. And because he was also on a rock, and that would have put his MC80 at that point, I think, down to 3 hull with the rams and the rocks and stuff, and another crit on it. So he shot it, he absolutely obliterated it, and then ran the MC30 down and around. But at this point, my assault frigate was well out of threat range. We're on round 4. It hasn't been shot a single time. It's not going to die at this point. And so I spent the rest of the game activating squads and flacking and stuff, and wiped his whole squad ball. While I lost, who did I lose? I believe I lost Lando and 2 YTs, I'm pretty sure. I'll have to check. But I ended up winning 7-4 in the end. And again, another close game. If I don't kill that MC30 there, maybe things get way worse. It may be able to get away. Who knows? But I needed a win. I got a win. Ryan was a very skilled opponent. I thought this was a really cool list. And I really enjoyed our game. So Ryan, I hope to play you again in the future. This was a lot of fun. So we were the first game to finish in round 3, and so that gave me plenty of time to twiddle my thumbs and bite my nails in anticipation of where I would end up. I ended with 18 points, and so I thought that may be good enough for top 4, but I had to wait and see. And in the end, it was enough for 3rd place. So we got that Worlds invite we came for. Here's the final standings. Mac, as I'm sure a lot of you saw on the stream, absolutely dominated again. Went undefeated in the tournament. Won the day 2 by 2 points. He ended up playing Lucas, the Starhawk list, round 1. He played Daniel, who was the TF list, round 2, and then beat Justin pretty handily in round 3. I wasn't able to watch a ton of that game, but from what I saw, it was kind of brutal for Justin. I think the discrepancy in the luck of rolls was not on his side, and I think Mac's list is just a pretty tough matchup there with Gallant Haven, and the CR90s aren't going to kill that thing. So Mac won, and then Lucas with the Starhawk got 2nd place. I think he had quite a good day. I ended up in 3rd, and Justin in 4th. So that was the top 4 for Worlds invites. Joseph, Daniel got 5th, Joseph 6th, Ryan 7th, and Jason 8th. As you can see, it was a pretty close top 8 here. Everyone was playing well, and so very, very fun day, very, very fun tournament. I consider myself very fortunate to have gotten that Worlds invite. I look forward to whenever that happens. I still, as far as I know, there's no date or location for where that's happening, so who knows? But I look forward to seeing a lot of the top players there. If any of you have any other questions or comments or anything about the tournament, about the top 8, about any of the lists the list that I played or any of the lists here, please let me know in the comments or message me on Discord. Like I said, I think Derek is going to have the full list breakdown of the whole tournament done, whenever he has time. So hopefully in the next week or so. Once again, it was a fantastic tournament. He did a fantastic job, as he always does. I had a lot of fun. It was great to hang out with Joseph and Mac and Ryan, talking Armada, catching up after every game. Jack and I had a beer together. It was just a great tournament overall. I am very thankful to be part of such a great community of players, where we can have a great time, flying our plastic spaceships. And I hope that this kind of tournament makes me hope that Armada still has a bright future. I'm very optimistic. We got the erratas and the updated rules document from AMG, which was great to see that they care enough to do that. Apparently they're going to do Worlds, which is fantastic. And so I am cautiously optimistic, and it feels really, really good because it's been a while since I felt like that for Armada. It's a beautiful game, truly a beautiful game. But I thank you all so much for watching this video. Like I said, be on the lookout for the full list breakdown and everything from Karnak soon. But thanks so much for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed this. I don't know that I've ever asked for that, but I really appreciate the support you guys have given on these videos. Thank you for everyone who came up and said hi at the tournament, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching.